Recording.
Must be nice to have autofocus.
Am I in the shot, Lee?
I think so.
You can be on the right, but we're not gonna mic it for two people because I'm lazy. So we'll talk in this sort of trajectory. You know what I'm saying?
I'll point there.
Yeah. So I'm trying different things.
I'm here for
You're
it.
the first thing I'm trying. So we're not gonna do a regular video. I don't know if this part's even gonna be in the video.
I think it will be because I'm saying this part's in the video now.
Okay. So Sue-Ray.
No, wait, hold on. All my videos say Suri
Yeah.
or Siru
Yeah.
or Siru, and I've seen your video explaining how to do it.
Yeah.
So can we do it?
I didn't make the
together real
rules up.
Okay.
I asked them, and I also watched a video of like somebody at NAB or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're like Sue-Ray. So that's what we're
quick?
calling
Suri
it.
Suri, I apologize for all my minced
Yeah, your minced words.
all my minced pronunciations.
So anyway, they sent a new lens. This is their full frame 50mm T2.9 1.6x full frame anamorphic lens. Basically, it's a full frame discount anamorphic lens. Okay, open that on up. It's
Can I throw it?
Yeah, do whatever. They do like an Indiegogo, I think it is, right? So that's a
Yeah.
Kickstarter, right?
I've used the Micro Four Thirds one. There's a review of it on my channel. Pretty solid lenses. I'm more interested to see how the flares look. Accessories. Want to see what's in there?
Oh, and shout out to Lee Zavitz on the ones and twos over here. As, I don't know what the expression means. I stole that from Lou.
On the ones and twos.
What's in this, by the way? Accessories. What are lens accessories? Normally there's a
I'm
hood, but
guessing
there's no
pouch.
hood in here.
I'm guessing pouch.
And the answer is
Suede.
yeah, it's a pouch. It stinks quite strongly, but there's a nice little velour on the inside.
It's actually kind of fishy, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's not great.
These are probably the most affordable full frame anamorphic lenses right now.
I would think so.
Right.
Okay, this one's for E-mount. I've got I'll grab an A7S3. Watch your knees!
The internet will love me shooting on Sony today. 'Cause
Yeah, so they come with 4 mounts, is what they tell me. Sony E, L mount, which is you,
I'm
right?
excited about LML, yeah.
Canon RF, apparently.
Nice.
And Z mount, which I'm assuming is for Zcam.
Z mount? Nikon Z mount, yeah. Or Z mount?
Z mount.
It's Nikon then. So it's not.
Possibly.
Zcam is EF mount, yeah.
You're right. It's because they have like Z log and Z this and Z that. All right, we'll scratch all that.
Scratch all
Just
that,
like- And as I was saying, Nikon mount for the last one because I don't make mistakes on video.
I would say that this would probably be best on L mount, only because Panasonic has really great built-in anamorphic modes, and I just think Panasonic's great in general.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the D-Squeeze. This guy is a 1.6x, which you're supposed to be holding it and moving it, by the way, and tell me about
sorry.
the feel,
Yeah.
okay?
It's heavy, and that's how you know it's expensive, even though it's actually quite affordable.
It's a 1.6 times, which means that if you want conventional anamorphic cinemascope, whatever you want to call it in theater, they normally aim for like a 2.39 to 1, 2.4 to 1, which means you want to shoot that on a 3x2 sensor to get the correct sort of thing. If you shoot on 16x9, like these cameras, this one, the Nikon and the Canon, they're all 16x9. Nobody else does a 4x3 or 3x2, right? Then you're gonna get like a 2.8 to 1. So it's gonna be wider and you're gonna end up chopping stuff off. And if you shoot it on a 4x3,
Yeah.
then you're not gonna get quite wide enough.
No.
So the sweet spot is a 3x2, which only 2 cameras of this mount style, I think, well, it's the Panasonic S1H, and I
Yeah.
looked it up, S1 got the 6K 3x2 mode.
Interesting. So my S5 would not be able to shoot this properly for de-squeezing in camera.
You'll have to do some of your own little work in post. But if you wanted to, well, you still can't de-squeeze them in camera.
Correct.
The anamorphic modes are only 4x3 on the Panasonic.
Correct.
So you would shoot 3x2, the back of your screen would look weird,
Yeah.
and you can't even de-squeeze it properly on a monitor because they only do
It's a bit of a cumbersome
Yeah.
pain to probably shoot with this, which we'll find out when we actually start shooting with it, but
You actually throw that on.
okay.
I'll get a battery, and I'm gonna bust out an Atomos.
Someone's gonna meme this because I always make fun of Sony. The truth is I do actually really like Sony. I just play the part for YouTube. Ooh, that's a nice case.
So you don't get that with the $500,
No, you
$600 Ninja 5.
Feels like a DJI case actually. Well, this case is really nice, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I haven't opened it yet.
I'm feeling the kind of gunmetal gray too.
On the
Yeah, see, it's got like a different finish than a
Oh
normal
yeah,
Ninja.
true. That's true. All right.
That's how you know you paid a little bit more money. It's always good to brag, show off a little bit.
So this lens on this body, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not.
No, it's good that it has the lens support mount though. Wait, no, we got to do it.
You get the peel on camera.
Gary, everyday dad, this is for you.
Who are you pointing that to? Look at your
sorry.
monitor.
Hold on. Oh, don't you have there's no camera here? Oh my God, there's no overhead camera. Okay, the audio is for you, Gary. Here you go. Wait.
I wasn't impressed with that.
It was awful.
in the least bit.
Terrible. It's gonna get cut.
Okay, so if we look at Patrick in the shot, oh yeah, we've got flares too. We can see the different, like, we should get a good sense of what he should look like. So without any D-squeeze going on, this is what we're looking at. You got a little cone head. And then you got the 2x 4x3 option, the regular 2x up. It's cinematic! And then
So what?
1.8 looks better, but I think even though it's wrong, and I think 1.5, which is also wrong, is your best bet for monitoring.
The Sirui lens that I reviewed on my channel for Micro Four Thirds had not been rehoused yet for cinema, but I do believe they are rehousing the entire lineup for cinema, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They
So-
mentioned something about rehousing in the email.
Yeah, so I've seen cinema lenses for like the Super 35 ones that they have, but this is a full frame lens, but it's also cinema, which means you have gears for your focus and your aperture. And we talk about that all the time. Just having gears and all that kind of stuff just looks a little cooler. Feel more cinema.
Oh yeah, what do you think the pitch on these? Does that look typical?
But let's see.
Yeah, it looks like it has like whatever the I don't actually know the
standard, yeah,
number,
I don't
but
know the
whatever
number
the
either.
standard kind of like pitches on those gears.
But you also have a declicked aperture, which is nice. So if you need to change from bright to dark, you can do it gradual and smooth. And I would say that's the one thing that feels a little bit tight, a little tighter than I would normally like. But the focus,
the throw is kind of short though. I don't
yeah,
know.
it is shorter than I thought it would be for a cinema lens, to be honest. But it's smooth, it's clean. This is tight. Feel
82
the
millimeter,
aperture.
82 millimeter front filter thread. So I busted out the old Polar Pro.
The old Peters.
I would say that I'd rather have a stiffer kind of aperture ring though, because
You don't want to slip on you, yeah.
yeah, I don't want I want to, especially if I'm gonna have my hand kind of like here
Totally.
for.
But the focus feels nice.
Now we should keep in mind that you guys came at like noon.
Yes.
So we're gonna go shooting out in like high noon sunlight, at prime time for some quality anamorphic shooting.
Yeah, we'll be looking for like mid-level reflections on chrome and stuff like that, and probably Lee with his iPhone.
That's
right. with the light on, because I just want to. I'm more curious about the flares than anything else. Also, it's nice having 50 mil on a full frame lens for depth of field. So we'll see if the bokeh swirls kind of kick in, because that was a little bit harder for me to find on the Micro Four Thirds version. So I'm stoked.
Something to test, because it was an issue on the crop versions, was that the way that this focuses, or I don't know, the way that the previous one focused was that the focus groups moved the anamorphic elements as well. So when you close focused, your squeeze
changed.
was different.
Gene talked about that. Potato
He
Jack
did,
talked
yeah.
about that. Yeah.
And then there was a good video from, I want to get the channel right. It's like Anamorphic on a Budget or something.
Zane,
like
I
that.
think his name is.
And
Zane?
I think just covers Anamorphic.
Yeah, he's great.
Really sweet seeming guy in his videos, and he went into depth on
Yeah.
that, explaining how there's different ways to focus. It's not like Sirui is broken. There's
No.
other companies that have been doing this all along, but it's basically if you're moving the focus groups that include anamorphic elements, then your squeeze factor is going to change
Totally.
as you focus. As far as min to max on this one, 0.8 or 2.5 feet, it's actually reasonably close.
pretty
I would
good,
say.
yeah.
We'll have to, okay, we'll do it after, we'll record a test right next. The next thing you're going to see is a test of us close and far on a person's face, and we'll see if it changes the squeeze or not.
Sweet.
Anything else you want to talk about before we go shoot some stuff?
I would just say, I think it's exciting that these lenses are being made, because I had been researching anamorphic for a long time. And, aside from getting old projector lenses and crazy adapters or spending tens of thousands of dollars, the idea that these are getting democratized and more affordable is just extremely interesting to me. So even if it isn't the best quality in the world, as a budget affordable option for your perspective to shoot anamorphic, that is very exciting to me.
What do you think of the price for what it is? Because it is a bump. It's like almost, $1,200 for the early bird, $1,500. Do you think for full frame that's a good price?
I think, yeah.
I think that still
totally
democratizes?
Because I think context matters, right? Because it's like, if you wanted full frame anamorphic lenses, you're spending 3 times that usually, right? So if you got to trade off a little bit of optical quality to save some money, whereas most people will watch and be like, this is crazy, it looks like I'm watching a movie, you're gonna get the nice lens flares that you want, I think the price is actually pretty solid.
Ooh, not a huge fan of that aperture.
It's weird, right? That's what
Too stiff?
Well, when you're using like a higher end cinema lens, these would feel exactly the same. So the aperture and the focus ring would feel exactly the same. Focus ring feels smooth, I guess, but the aperture ring is kind of gritty. It's got a bit of a grittiness to it, but it's not that heavy. It looks
Yeah, it looks heavy.
bigger than like the weight of it. So there's minimum focus right there on the lens cap.
That's more than good enough.
What am I at there? Like 2.5 feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty close to the minimum.
It's not bad.
one of the things I'm noticing so far shooting for a small period of time, it's actually kind of difficult to get it to flare off like a reflection. If you shoot it right at the sun, flares galore. But sometimes I just want like a subtle flare off like the chrome of a bumper or something like that. But it's not as prominent as I probably want it to be.
Oh, you know what we forgot to do? Completely forgot to shoot the like funny sponsor segue thing that we were gonna do. So, funny sponsor segue. Last year, I reviewed the Rotolite Titan X1, which I called the best all-around light I'd ever used. Since then, Rotolite have been working on taking some of the unique technologies from the $3,000 Titan X1 and infusing them into a brand new light available to pre-order from just $500. They've just announced the Neo 3, the brightest on-camera light ever made, and the EOS 2, an innovative ultra-thin 1x1 light. These products provide both powerful continuous output and the world's first RGB flash, making them ideal for both photographers and filmmakers. For the first time, you'll be able to flash in any one of 16.7 million colors or 2,500 filters for unlimited creative possibilities, with an intuitive and responsive touchscreen display that saves valuable time on shoot. These lights are exclusively available to pre-order now on Kickstarter at rotolite.com/Kickstarter with early bird discounts. So if you want to be the first in the world to own them, head over now to check them out or use the link in the description below.
Something that I noticed when we started editing this footage is we had IBIS turned on with the a7S III. Now, the Sony does not have a specific setting for the IBIS for anamorphic lenses. So you might see a little bit of wobbling in the corners and in the sides of the image. If you have a Panasonic camera, there is a specific anamorphic IBIS setting that I would suggest using. I still think it's better to leave it on even if your camera doesn't have an anamorphic setting, because the micro jitters are worse, in my opinion, than the warbling and wobbling that you can get from the anamorphic lens with IBIS on. So I was able to edit around it. You might notice it, you might not. It's just something to keep in mind.
All right, so we're back.
We're back.
So I've got some specs here.
Beautiful.
We'll nail those off and then we'll talk about your impressions. So
This is so anybody else does a review, you can throw to Gerald's video because he does the specs.
this is totally unlike me.
It's done. It's not undone. It's done.
Undone. 10 aperture blades. I guess, yeah, we could, nobody really cares that much about this, but like we could look at how smooth the out of focus.
bokeh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably talk about it, but generally speaking, the bokeh was fairly pleasant. I didn't call it super swirly anamorphic bokeh, but I didn't have any glaring issues with it.
10 blades should be enough at 2.9. I mean, you're not going to be super, I don't know, that's probably fine. People aren't buying these to have like, I want perfect spherical orbs, you know.
Imperfections are actually good.
I'll bust out the fairy lights.
Beautiful.
And we can actually,
Test that delicious bokeh.
yeah, we'll see what we actually get.
Should I go over there?
Yeah. Here, so. We talked about the minimum focusing distance, 2.5 feet or 0.75 meters.
Solid.
Maximum magnification is 1 to 12.83, so it's not even close to a macro. You're gonna have to diopter that. A 95.5, they got a lot of good specs here. They even give you the focus throw, 95.5 degrees, which is short.
It's short, yeah. It doesn't feel what I would say similar to most cinema lenses that I'm using, which is a very long focus throw because you're using a focus puller.
So actually each mount is slightly different, but they're all around 1050 grams or 2.3 pounds. All right, that's the specs. So what was your overall thoughts?
I think generally speaking, overall, this
We're not doing outtakes, so.
we have to do outtakes. So I think generally speaking, I do love the lens a lot in the short period of time that I've had it. I could see myself using this for a documentary. I think it'd be really cool for some commercial work too. There's some little quirks that we'll talk about a little bit more, I'm sure. But generally speaking, overall, the ease of use, the price, I could highly recommend this as someone who wants to just start dabbling in anamorphic, but not go off the deep end because it is a very, very deep end to go into anamorphic. For me, I think the horizontal flare is really nice. It's a bit strong, but it's that secondary ghost flare for me that I could say subjectively It's not my favorite. I feel like it pulls you out a little bit more than just.
Because it seems almost like a little artifact.
Yeah,
moving
it
across the
actually
frame.
reminds me of like a cell phone flare. It feels
Yeah.
like a smartphone flare, and it doesn't feel. I hate to use this word, but like premium or expensive. It does feel budget and cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk at all about sharpness or whatever, but I feel like that's, who cares? The previous ones I found were so sharp that I'm not worried about it being soft as a problem.
No.
But even if it leaned a little bit soft, either way it leans, it's a specific look, and I don't think people are buying these lenses because they're looking for clinically immaculate images.
And I
That's
think-
not what you would do.
Yeah, and I think good examples are like 90s thrillers shot by like Jan de Bont and stuff. Like you watch like Die Hard or Basic Instinct, like full of horrible focus breathing and astronomical amount of flares. But like that's what you kind of want from anamorphic. You want that vintage, like bad look. I think it's part of the flair, for lack of a better word, with
Right.
these lenses is that it isn't a perfect, clean clinical image.
All right, Patrick, how are we going to end this video?
Great question. I think we are ending it right now.
It's kind of anticlimactic.
It is.